April 1945. Northern Germany. The war is collapsing in on itself, but the ground still trembles with secrets. I am Oberleutnant Franz Keller, Wehrmacht intelligence officer at least on paper. In reality, I am a courier for things never meant to survive defeat. Orders written in ash-gray ink. Files stamped Geheimreichsicht. Names that make generals whisper and scientists go silent. The Americans take us near the Elbe. No heroic last stand. Just fuel gone, radios dead, men exhausted beyond fear. A Sherman tank blocks the road, its gun already aimed. I raise my hands. So does everyone else. They separate us quickly. Officers one way, enlisted another, and then something unusual. A group of German women stands under guard near the tree line. Not nurses, not auxiliaries. They wear civilian coats over military boots. Their faces are pale, tight, disciplined. One of them meets my eyes. She knows me. I know her. Dr. Lotweiss. She worked at Facility R12, a place that officially does not exist. An American sergeant barks. These women say they're clerks and translators. The interpreter hesitates. Sir. Some claim they were prisoners. Lot says nothing. Her jaw clenches. Her hands shake once, just once before she hides it. They march us to a temporary POW enclosure. Barbed wire. Mud. Rain that never seems to stop. The smell of wet wool and defeat hangs in the air. I am searched. My pistol gone. My papers taken. But not everything. Hidden in the lining of my greatcoat is a microfilm capsule, small as a finger bone. On it, transport logs, chemical formulas, and interrogation reports from camps even the SS avoids naming. Human experiments, women, prisoners, results marked promising. That night, the women are kept separate, but close enough to hear. I hear one of them crying softly. Another whispers, they can't know. If they know, we're dead. An American officer approaches our fence. Captain, by the insignia. Calm voice, dangerous eyes. You were intelligence, he says to me. Not a question. I stay silent. He leans closer. We found a burned train south of here. Women inside. Prisoners. Chemical burns. No bombs hit it. He pauses. You want to explain that? Before I can answer, shouting erupts near the women's enclosure. Guards rush in. One of the women has collapsed. Lot kneels beside her, screaming in German. She needs atropine, now. The Americans freeze. They understand the word atropine. They understand it too well. The captain turns back to me slowly. What were you people working on? He asks. I look past him, toward the wire, toward Lot's terrified eyes. If I speak, I betray the Reich. If I stay silent, I bury the truth with the dead. Thunder rolls overhead, and for the first time since the war began, I am more afraid of what survives than what is lost. The woman convulsing on the ground is not acting. I recognize the signs before the Americans do. Shallow breathing, rigid fingers, eyes unfocused but aware, nerve exposure low dose delayed onset. The captain snaps orders. Medic, now. An American corpsman rushes in, hesitates, then injects atropine. The woman's body jerks once, violently, then slowly loosens. She gasps like someone pulled back from deep water. The camp goes silent. Lot looks up at me through the wire. Her face is streaked with rain and mud, but her eyes are sharp, furious. You see, they say you know. The captain steps closer. Only gas warfare specialists recognize that fast, he says. So I'll ask again. I choose my words carefully. I was assigned to logistics oversight, prisoner transfers. That's a lie, he replies calmly. But it's not your last chance. They moved me that night, not to the general enclosure, but to a canvas interrogation tent lit by a single hanging bulb. The wind flaps the walls like a breathing animal. Two MPs stand outside. Inside, just me and the captain. He lays items on the table. My papers, my watch. Then, carefully, the microfilm capsule. You hid this well, he says. Not well enough. My mouth goes dry. He doesn't open it. Yet. He sits instead. Here's how this works. The war's ending. Berlin's nearly surrounded. Everyone's looking for leverage. Scientists, officers, secrets. He leans forward. Some of those women out there claim they were forced to assist in experiments. Others say they ran them. Which one applies to Dr. Weiss? I say nothing. He continues, we've already seen Dachau, Buchenwald. But what your files suggest if I'm reading the cover notes right, this is different. Mobile labs, field testing, women as both subjects and technicians. The bulb flickers. I remember Facility R12 buried in pine forest. Rail spur disguised as timber transport. Prisoners arriving at night. Women selected for resilience. Others for obedience. Lot had stood in a white coat, hands steady. telling herself she was preventing worse outcomes. That's what we all said. The captain's voice cuts back in. Those women are terrified. Not of us, of what's written down. A distant engine growls. Trucks arriving. More prisoners. Or something else. Outside, shouting again. An American guard yells, "Sir." The women one's trying to run. Gunfire cracks the air. A warning shot. Screams. The captain stands abruptly. If one of them dies, everything changes. He grabs the microfilm. You want protection. For them? He gestures toward the tent wall. You talk. Tonight. I feel the weight of years pressing down. Orders signed by men already dead. Experiments that never reached the front, yet killed hundreds quietly. Files meant to be destroyed, now sitting inches from an American's hands. I speak finally. Facility R12 was not a camp, I say. It was a test site. His eyes harden. For what? For weapons, I answer. Designed to be denied. Another scream cuts. The running woman is caught before she reaches the wire. Two MPs tackle her in the mud. She screams in German, words breaking apart in panic. They'll kill us. You don't understand. They'll erase us. I hear Lot shouting her name Hannah over and over, trying to anchor her to the present. Hannah's face is streaked with blood where she struck the ground. Her eyes are wild, not with guilt, but with certainty. The captain orders the guards to stand down. No more shots. He watches Hannah carefully, like a man examining a live mine. She's not afraid of prison, he says quietly to me. She's afraid of being documented. I nod, because documentation was the weapon. Inside the tent, I am told to continue. Outside, the women are forced to sit in the rain, under guard, close enough to hear every word I say. R12 answered directly to the Reich Research Council. I begin. But funding came through the SS. Officially, we studied defensive countermeasures. Unofficially, the captain asks, chemical agents that leave no signature, no smell, no residue that Allied labs were trained to find. I describe how prisoners, mostly women from Poland, Ukraine, and France were selected. Strong lungs, calm heart rates. Some were forced subjects. Others were offered food, warmth, survival in exchange for participation. Lot had argued for volunteers. She believed it was the only way to keep the death numbers lower. I hear her voice outside the tent. Now, low, controlled, translating my words for the others. The captain stops me. The women knew what was happening. Some, I say. Not all. Knowledge was compartmentalized. Even we didn't see the full picture. He finally opens the capsule. A strip of microfilm glints under the bulb. He feeds it into a portable viewer. His breath changes as he reads. Transport codes, dosage tables, field tests disguised as typhus outbreaks. Notes in the margins. Subject remains lucid for 6 minutes. Female subjects show higher resistance, promising for urban deployment. A truck engine approaches and stops. Another, heavy, purposeful. An American lieutenant enters the tent. Sir, counterintelligence is here. They say this just became their problem. The captain doesn't look away from the film. Of course it did. Outside, the women are being separated again, this time individually. Names taken, photographs, fingerprints. Hannah is sobbing. Lot stands rigid, staring straight ahead. I realize then the cruel symmetry of it. The Reich used documentation to control life and death. Now the Allies will use it to decide who is saved and who is erased. The captain looks up at me. You understand what you've given us? Yes, I say, and what it will cost them. He closes the viewer. History doesn't like loose ends. As the guards lead me away, I catch Lot's eyes one last time. There is no anger in them now, only calculation. She mouths a single word, barely visible, burn it, but it is already too late. Fog hangs low over the camp, turning men into silhouettes and fences into shadows. I am moved again, this time to a reinforced enclosure marked with fresh signs. CIC authorized personnel only. The war may be ending, but intelligence work is just beginning. They question me for hours. Same facts, different voices. Each officer wants a version that fits his future report. I give them only what already exists on the film. Nothing more, nothing less. Through the fog, I see the women being loaded onto trucks. Not together, one by one. No explanations given. Hannah resists. Lot does not. She walks with her head high, as if posture alone can still control fate. A young American intelligence officer, Lieutenant Harris, leans toward the captain. Sir, Washington's on the line. They want priority extraction for scientific personnel. German scientific personnel, the captain replies flatly. Yes, sir. The words hang in the air like poison gas. I am brought to a new tent. Larger, warmer. A pot of coffee sits between two men in civilian coats. No insignia, no names offered. One of them smiles. Oberleutnant and Keller. Or would you prefer Herr Doctor? Your academic file is impressive. I was logistics, I repeat. Of course, the other man says. Logistics for ideas. They slide photographs across the table. Burned rail cars. Women with blistered skin. A child she found near a test site. Then another set clean labs, white coats. German women adjusting valves and recording data. Some of these women claim they were prisoners, the first man says. Others say they were staff. We need to decide who is which. And if they were both, I asked. The smile fades. History prefers clean categories, he answers. They explain the choice without ever calling it that. Cooperation earns protection. Silence earns prosecution. For the women, the line is thinner. Useful knowledge may save them. Uncooperative witnesses may disappear into the system. I think of Lot. Brilliant, complicit, also trapped. A guard enters quietly. Sir, one of the women is refusing to speak. Which one? Dr. Weiss. The men exchange a look. The first sighs. Bring her. Lot is escorted in. She looks smaller now, wrapped in a borrowed American coat. Her hands are steady. Her eyes are not. They ask her about R12, about volunteers, about dosages. She answers with clinical precision, never once using the word experiment. Always trial. Always assessment. Then they show her the photographs. Her voice cracks for half a second. That train was not scheduled, she says. Someone panicked. They increased concentration without authorization. Who? One man asks. She looks at me, not accusing, not pleading, measuring. The courier would know, she says calmly. Every eye turns to me. Outside, engines start again. Somewhere, paperwork is being stamped that will decide who vanishes into courtrooms and who into safe houses. I understand now. The secrets were never meant to be buried. They were meant to be. The question hangs between us like a drawn blade. Who authorized the increase? The civilian asks again, softer this time. I look at Lot. Her face is controlled, but I see the strain at the corners of her mouth. She knows what naming a name means. So do I. In March, I say slowly, authority shifted. Berlin was desperate. Oversight collapsed. That's not an answer, the other man replies. It's the only honest one, I say. Orders came verbally. No signatures, no paper trail. That was the design. They don't like that. Intelligence men prefer villains they can frame and heroes they can extract. One of them leans back. You're telling us no one is responsible. I'm telling you everyone is, I answer. Lot exhales quietly. For the first time since her arrest, she looks relieved. The civilians step outside to confer. Through the tent flap, I hear fragments. Washington, Moscow, French claims, leverage. The war has not ended. It has simply changed shape. When they return, the tone is different. We're relocating certain individuals, the first man says, for their own safety, and ours, and the others. Lot asks. He doesn't answer directly. Witnesses will be processed. Processed. The word lands hard. That night, the camp changes. Guards are doubled. The women are no longer allowed to speak to each other. Hannah is gone by morning. No one will say where. I am moved again, this time to a truck with blacked-out windows. Lot is already inside. Shackles on our wrists, but loose enough to suggest trust is being negotiated. The engine starts. The camp fades behind us. Lot speaks without looking at me. You could have named someone. So could you, I reply. Silence. Then, if I survive this, she says, they'll make me explain how to replicate it. I know she's right. The Allies don't fear Nazi secrets because they're immoral. They fear them because they work. The truck stops at an airfield before dawn. C-47 transports wait on the tarmac, engines idling. American soldiers move with purpose, not celebration. An officer checks a clipboard. Keller, Weiss, you're on this flight. To where? I ask. He hesitates. That's classified. As we climb aboard, I catch sight of other German scientists. Technicians, men with briefcases and haunted eyes. None wear shackles. Lot whispers. This is how it disappears. Not by burning, by absorption. The plane's door closes. Engines roar. The ground falls away. Below us, Germany is a scarred landscape of smoke and rubble. Somewhere in that ruin lie the graves of the unnamed women who never reached a camp or a courtroom. The pilot's voice crackles over the intercom. Sit tight. We're changing course. I look at Lot. To where? She closes her eyes. Where secrets go to live. And I realized the most dangerous Nazi secret was never the weapon. It was who would inherit it. The C-47 lifts into the gray sky. Engines rattling like distant artillery. Below, the ruins of northern Germany stretch endlessly, burned villages, flattened factories, and the skeletal remains of rail lines once used to move men and secrets alike. Inside the cabin, The air is thick with tension. Lot sits across from me, eyes fixed on her clasped hands. Between us, a stack of microfilm reels rests in a leather case. Each contains months of human trials, chemical tests, and field notes meticulously compiled by men long gone. These documents are more dangerous than any battlefield artillery. I study her quietly. Lot is not just brilliant. She's calculated. Every word, every hesitation, every subtle glance betrays her inner conflict. She helped run R-12. Yet she also tried to mitigate death where she could. I wonder if she believes salvation is possible for people like us, or if she knows that some secrets are too big to survive unscathed. A young American intelligence officer approaches, clipboard in hand. We'll be landing in a secure facility in about 3 hours. You'll provide full cooperation for debriefing. Everything you know, every document, every detail. Lot doesn't flinch. And if we refuse? The officer's jaw tightens. Refusal isn't an option, but cooperation may. Preserve life. His eyes flick briefly to me, silently asking how much of the truth I'll reveal. I think of Hannah, of the other women who never made it to the trucks, of the burned train cars and the experiments no one was supposed to know about. Preserve life is a cruel euphemism. The plane dips slightly over a river, mist curling over the water like smoke from a battlefield. I can almost see the ghosts of the Reich soldiers, the women, the prisoners, moving and seen through the fog. Suddenly, a loud bang rattles the fuselage. The pilots curse. Nothing hits us. It's just turbulence, but the jolt reminds me that even now, the shadows of war cling to us. Lot grips the seat in front of her. I lean forward. Do you think they'll ever understand what happened at R-12? She looks at me, her gaze steady, cold, and yet human. No, but they will use it. That's enough for them. That's what makes it alive. I nod. I understand. The secrets of R-12 are not buried. They are transplanted, repurposed, weaponized in new hands. And somewhere in this chain of custody, morality will be tested again and probably fail. Hours pass. The sun begins to pierce the clouds. The plane banks, descending toward a cluster of low, gray buildings surrounded by barbed wire. A secure facility designed to contain knowledge too dangerous for public awareness. We touch down on wet tarmac. Engines roar and then silence. Guards step forward to escort us. Outside, American jeeps patrol, their guns trained like eyes that see everything. The microfilm case is taken from between us. I catch Lot's subtle nod. Our burden has officially left our hands. As they lead us into the facility, I glance back. The facility smells of antiseptic, steel, and old paper. The air is too warm, too still, like a tomb for secrets. We are led down a long corridor lined with barred windows and reinforced doors. Every step echoes, reminding me that here, history is not observed, it is curated, judged, and repurposed. Inside a sterile interrogation chamber, we are separated. Lot sits at a metal table, her hands cuffed to the edge. Across from her, a young American scientist opens a folder, filled with notes and photographs from R-12. He flips through page after page, scanning chemical formulas, dosage charts, and experimental logs. I watch from the corner, unshackled but under constant surveillance. My own file lies open in front of a different officer. They want everything, the who, the why, the how. But they also want context, interpretation. And that is where the danger lies. Truth can be twisted as easily as it can be revealed. Through the thin wall, I hear Lot's voice, calm, precise, clinical. The subjects were chosen for resilience, she says. Selection was based on physical health and psychological stability. Trials were structured to minimize mortality most of the time. The qualifier cuts sharply, like a knife hidden in plain sight. The American scientist's pen hovers, uncertain. He is learning something dangerous, and he knows it. Hours pass. Lot describes protocols, chemical compounds, and field deployment methods with chilling clarity. She never excuses what was done, but she frames it as data, observation, research. Outside, I am asked to provide corroboration. I speak of transportation logs, personnel rotations, the invisible chain of command. I name no one. I assign responsibility to the system, to collapse, to desperation. Then, during a lull, Lot leans her head slightly toward the glass partition. Her eyes meet mine. She mouths a single word. Watch. I follow her gaze. Across the hall, another woman, one we didn't know had survived, watches from behind a half-open door. Her expression is unreadable. She is quiet, calculating. We are being observed by those we did not anticipate. The secret is bigger than us, and it has eyes. Later, the American scientist returns with a small, sealed envelope. We've marked certain documents for retention, he says. Some will be destroyed. Lot's gaze does not waver. Which ones? He hesitates. That is classified. For your cooperation, you will only know that some files survive and some do not. I understand the implication immediately. Survival of knowledge comes at a cost. Someone always disappears from history, erased not by bombs, but by judgment. Night falls. Lights flicker in the facility. Outside, the wind carries the faint smell of burned villages and forests still smoldering from the final battles. I realized that the real danger was never the chemical formulas, the microfilm, or the experiments. It was the way knowledge itself can be manipulated, hidden, and weaponized. And somewhere in this facility. Morning arrives, pale and cold. The facility hums with quiet industry typing, shuffling papers, distant footsteps. Every sound reminds me that history is alive here, being written not by war, but by judgment. Lot is brought to a new room, this one larger, filled with long tables and filing cabinets. Other scientists and former officers have already arrived. Their faces are drawn, haunted, some resigned, others calculating. All are aware that the papers on these tables will determine who survives the post-war world and who vanishes into obscurity. I am allowed to accompany her, though not to sit beside her. We walk through corridors lined with locked rooms, each containing stacks of microfilm, charts, and chemical notes, records of human suffering, carefully documented. Some documents are labeled for immediate destruction. Others, marked priority Washington, will travel across the Atlantic, hidden in secure diplomatic pouches. Lot stops before a filing cabinet and studies the labels. Our 12 experiments, female subjects, field trials, March 1945. Chemical agents, restricted distribution. Her lips pressed together. I know she recognizes not just the content, but the lives behind it, lives erased, cataloged, and repurposed for future use. An American officer approaches. Dr. Weiss, we need you to explain these logs. Be precise. Any errors could compromise operations. She nods, calm but firm. The logs reflect dosage schedules, subject selection criteria, and testing outcomes. They do not include unauthorized experiments. Those were exceptions, not the standard protocol. The officer studies her carefully. And these exceptions, were they significant? Lot hesitates, just enough to remind me she is human. Then she continues, measured. They were, but documentation was incomplete. Attempts to conceal them failed. That is why you see these files now. I catch her glance. There is no guilt. Only calculation and survival. Hours pass. We are separated again for questioning. I provide detailed testimony about personnel, shipments, and administrative records. Every word is scrutinized, every hesitation noted. I realize that in this place, truth is a currency, but only if it serves the future. By mid-afternoon, a secure envelope arrives for Lot. It contains a list of documents slated for destruction. She scans it quickly. Most of the field logs will survive, but some of the more damning files, especially those implicating women in direct experimentation, will vanish. Her face is unreadable, but I sense the tension coiling inside her. She whispers, almost to herself, even history has its limits. Outside, I hear distant thunder. It is not a storm. It is the world shifting. The secrets of our 12 are no longer just Nazi atrocities. They are a commodity, traded for safety, leverage, and the illusion of moral victory. I realize then, we are not the keepers of secrets. We are their witnesses, and witnesses can be silenced. Night falls. Guards move silently through. Weeks pass. The facility becomes a rhythm of secrecy and observation. Every morning brings new arrival scientists, officers, and technicians, each carrying knowledge the Allies are eager to claim, contain, or exploit. Lot and I move through it like ghosts, our actions measured, our words precise, our pasts both shields and weapons. We are assigned tasks. Lot must catalog and summarize chemical trials, selecting which documents survive. I am tasked with verifying transportation and personnel logs. Every paper we touch carries weight beyond the obvious decisions. Here we'll rewrite who is remembered and who disappears into obscurity. One afternoon, a senior American officer calls me into his office. He gestures to a map of Germany spread across the wall. Pins marking locations. Our 12 rail depots, destroyed labs. We need your input, he says. We're reconstructing events to prevent future misuse. I nod, careful not to betray the full scope. Many sites were temporary. Records were incomplete. Some files were destroyed by retreating forces. What remains is only a fraction. He narrows his eyes. Fraction or curated? I shrug. Depends on perspective. Back at her table, Lot discovers something troubling. A small stack of photographs, mislabeled or hidden in a misfiled folder. depicts prisoners in ways even we did not anticipate. Faces contorted in fear, bruised or burned, their humanity laid bare. She pauses, hand hovering above the images. For a moment, the scientist in her wavers, replaced by a witness forced to reckon with complicity. An American assistant approaches. Dr. Weiss, are you sure these should be retained? She looks up, steadying herself. They show the cost of what we did. Some truths must survive, no matter the political consequences. Outside, I hear the distant hum of trucks and machinery, supplies, papers, and even human cargo moving in and out. The Allies are methodical, meticulous, calculating. History is being harvested, not recorded. Later, during a rare quiet moment, Lot and I sit side by side on a bench in the facility courtyard. Rain begins, cold and sharp. She lights a cigarette, her hands steady, eyes distant. Do you think anyone will ever know the full truth of R12? I shake my head. History will remember fragments. The rest will be lost, repurposed, or buried under diplomacy. She exhales smoke, watching it curl into the gray sky. And those fragments will be enough to shock generations. A sudden commotion breaks the quiet. Alarms blare. Guards run down the corridors. Someone shouts. Papers rustle. Doors slam. My heart tightens. Lot stands immediately, eyes scanning, calculating. I follow. A junior officer bursts in, holding a small fire extinguisher. Electrical fire in the archive wing. Microfilm storage at risk. Time slows. The reels that hold months of human suffering, chemical trials, and secret knowledge, the very essence of R12, are in danger. I glance at Lot. She doesn't. The fire is contained, but the aftermath is worse. Smoke curls through the halls, leaving the walls blackened and the air thick with acrid dust. Some reels are ruined. Others are saved, but not intact. The very secrets we carried, months of experiments, human suffering, coded orders, now hang by threads. Lot and I are exhausted, yet we continue our work. Each surviving reel, each document, must be accounted for. Each decision carries weight far beyond the walls of this facility. Some will be used to advance medicine or chemistry. Others will vanish quietly into secure archives, destined to be forgotten. I think of the women of R12, Hannah, the others, the unnamed. Their lives recorded in formulas and logs, their stories reduced to data points. And yet, Lot ensures that enough of their reality survives, faces, names, and events to remind history that they existed, that they suffered, that they resisted, where possible, within the impossible framework of the Reich. An American colonel calls us in. You've done what we asked. Your cooperation will be noted. You may be released soon. But remember, these secrets are not yours. They belong to history and to those who control its telling. I nod. Lot does not respond. She stares at a microfilm reel in her hands, almost as if weighing the souls captured within it. Later, as we are escorted from the facility, the gray sky stretches endlessly overhead. The wind carries the scent of wet earth, smoke, and war-torn Germany. Trucks, jeeps, and soldiers move around us, each focused on their mission, each unaware of the fragile balance we have maintained inside these walls. I glance at Lot. Do you think it will ever end? She looks straight ahead. The secrets never end. They only change hands. We pass the last guards and the gates of the facility swing open. Freedom, in its most literal sense, lies just beyond. But I feel the weight of the knowledge we carry, heavier than any uniform or medal. These secrets, the hidden labs, the mobile chemical trials, the lives sacrificed quietly in pine forests, will outlive us. They will haunt policymakers, historians, and perhaps future generations. Somewhere far away, the files we saved are being studied, copied, and assessed. Somewhere else, the destroyed files remain lost, erasing part of history. And yet, through it all, the human cost persists, a silent reminder of what men and women endure when ideology demands experimentation over empathy. As Lot and I step into the dawn, rain begins to fall again, soft and steady. It washes the mud from our boots, but it cannot wash the truth. The war is over. The Reich is gone. But the secrets we carried, the ones history tried to bury, live on. And for the first time, I understand. Survival is not enough. Bearing witness, preserving fragments, and confronting what was done, that is the real inheritance of war. Some truths are too dangerous to vanish. Some memories are too heavy to forget. And the world will never know them all.